Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This video will be a little bit different than my normal tour videos that I have on my channel. This is actually Dr. Allan Armitage. He's a retired professor from the University of Georgia and kind of a legend in the horticulture industry. He has literally written the books on perennials over the last many decades. He's actually from Canada originally, but was a professor at the University of Georgia. And like I say, very, very well known in my business to say the least. And I had the opportunity to go hang out with him for a day in Athens a few weeks back, and he gave me, I got a personal tour of the Georgia Botanical Garden and some of his neighbors' landscapes, and of course his. And so I just filmed him doing the tour at his house. This first video is just the front yard. I have this second, I'll have a second half to this video. It's about 20 minutes of him going through the front yard. His enthusiasm for horticulture has definitely not waned in his retirement at all, and he continues to be a prolific writer. I have linked his website down below. If you can go to his website, all of his books are available there. And he also has an app for your phone called Armitage's Great Garden Plants. I believe that's it. And just interesting information on different plants. Those of you who have deer problems and that kind of thing, the plants are rated by deer resistance, that kind of thing. One of the things is he signed a copy of his book. It's not just about the hat. You'll notice the hat he's wearing in this video is a Tilly hat, which I have one here that has seen better days. I think this one is now about 30 years old. I have a new one. I just don't like it as much as this one that's about 30 years old, but I've been wearing this Tilly hat for my entire history in this business, and as a landscaper and as a nurseryman and as a garden center owner. And people found me at the Raleigh Farmers Market because of this hat. And he wears a Tilly hat as well, which is just kind of interesting. And he actually, identifies himself by that hat as well. So same as I do. So here's Dr. Allan Armitage giving you a tour of his garden space, and I don't know when, but sometime soon I'll put up the second half of this video. Thanks for watching.
Hey everybody, welcome to my garden. I'm Allan Armitage, and this is where I have such a good time just sharing what I do. And what I do may not be what you want to do, but hey, I'm having a great time, so feel free to ignore me or come on, let's walk together. A few things that I really enjoy, because we've been in this house about 10 years and there was absolutely nothing here. I mean, the house wasn't here, quite truthfully. So everything was from scratch. I've always loved window boxes. As many of you know, I'm from Canada, and Canada is very English as far as the background in gardening and all. So we always had window boxes. How can you beat good old Margarita sweet potato with some lovely profusion zinnias? And I mention profusion because it's one of the best zinnias that I have found. Now, I happen to live in Athens, Georgia, but anybody, I can't think of anybody who hasn't had a pretty good experience with these zinnias. It's a series, so you can get lots of different colors, and they stay clean and they stay healthy. I've got this really cool Abelia, A-B-E-L-I-A. This is called Canyon Creek. And it always looks nice. My wife likes keeping it trimmed a little bit more than I do, but the flowers are nice, but the foliage, particularly in the spring, any of the new growth, it's just handsome. So over here, I'm gonna walk over here. A couple of things. Believe it or not, this is a dogwood, and dogwoods have flowered way long time ago. There's a whole bunch of different dogwoods out there. We know Cornus florida, which is the eastern dogwood. We know Cornus cusa, which is the Asian dogwood. Well, this is Empress of China, and it's not flowering like big time right now, but even the fact there's a few flowers is kind of fun. And when it does flower, it's much later than any of the others. Not normally this late, we're in October, but it's beautiful. I love it. I keep it trimmed just because this is a small garden. You're in a 60 by 100 residential garden, so I can't get too crazy. But one of the things I can get crazy about is fragrance. Oh, I just love my tea olives. Now, there's still some flowers on here, but it's kind of finishing for the fall. It flowers in the spring, it flowers in the fall. If you're standing with me right now, oh, it's just beautiful. And I think forever and a day when I smell my osmanthus here, my tea olives, I will remember this place with great, great fondness. When we moved into this area, this is just a lovely area. We can walk everywhere. But again, it's a, as I mentioned, residential garden. There was nothing here. I mean, there was a pecan tree, and there wasn't a whole lot of other things. Everything I showed you before was all something we put in. So I decided to make a garden, you know, around the pecan. That's east this way, so this gets all the morning light. It doesn't get much, there's nothing here that gets full sun, obviously. But there's some plants that I just love, and I love my grasses, and I think there's some fantastic new grasses out there, but the one that have been excited about for a long time, and everybody else seems to be, is our native grasses. This is panicum or switchgrass. It's going to start turning a decent kind of a pinky mauve thing. It's not as purple as I hoped it would be, but it's a good looking grass. I have a lot of things in this garden. If I leave you with one thought, and you may not agree with me, is put as many things in your garden as you can. Put things on top of things. As an example, you say, oh my God, he's probably killing things. I'll just take down this little feeder here, and you can see the vines that I put around. This is a flowering almond, and over here is a native azalea. And I have this black-eyed Susan vine. It's not enough sun. It probably should have a ton more flowers, but who cares? I have flowers to look at all the time. It's an annual. It's going to die. I'll take it out. It's really not bothering anything. And I know that because I've done this before, and the plants seem to be just fine. So I'm going to show you a lot of this. This crazy vine is, believe it or not, you'll see here, this rebar. It's what, 16 feet tall or something. And the lily that was up here, I'm showing it here in my left hand. This is a Formosa lily. It flowers very late and obviously gets very big. If I can show you, just so you know, it did flower. There's the fruit. And this crazy vine is just going up there. I expect it to go through the pecan if there's enough time. We live here in North Georgia. There's 4 seasons. We get winter, it gets freezing and all that stuff. And we've actually had some quite cool weather recently. This is a lovely day today. But down here, a lot of ground covers. There's coreopsis. There's a little rose I love. Yarrows. It doesn't look at all like it's going to look in the spring. It is October. Some things, and we've had some pretty warm weather before this, so things have struggled a wee bit lately, but they're all coming back nicely. I really don't feel too badly. Again, putting things in things. This yellow is one of my favorite ground covers. This is Lysimachia, or Creeping Charlie, Creeping Jenny. You can see it. It's going to cover the whole thing by summertime. So again, it's going to rejuvenate itself. I have no problem. I love the sedums. This is autumn fire. Its fire is almost out, but it has been very, very lovely. A few little gaillardias and this, that, and the other thing. I want to show you a couple of things that I just happen to like. Now, you may consider them weeds. This is the hardy ageratum. It looks just like the annual ageratum. Actually, a few differences, but it does very, very similar. It's called conoclinum if you're into botanical names. If you're not, hardy ageratum is just fine. Who really cares? But if you like to know what's what, I can help you with that. So what I've done down here, you'll see they're much shorter here than they are here. I cut them every now and then. I'm old, decrepit, and retired. So I can get out here every now and then if I just get the urge, if the spirit moves me, and just chop some of these things back. So they branch and make lots of flowers, and they stay at a reasonable height. The ones I didn't cut back were in too much shade for this thing, so it tends to stretch it a little bit. Hey, fine with me. Because what it's doing, it's covering this clematis that doesn't look so good right now. And again, next spring, the clematis will take over. This thing will just be a little seedling. And that's what I love about this stuff. There's always something to look forward to. So the pecan in the back, the hardy ageratum here coming through, everything is I just try to cover the ground, quite truthfully. I put a ground cover in if I can think of one or get one, whether it's just Creeping Jenny or this ageratum, and I'll plant stuff through it. There's bulbs going to be coming through this, some actually soon, and then some for spring, of course. The native azaleas, if you don't know deciduous azaleas, we call them native, but again, the breeders have got at them, so many hybrids are available. Certainly the species of natives are available. But again, one of the, truly, what is it that gardening allows us to do without even thinking about it? It allows us to look forward to something. It gives us always something to look forward to. I see these buds, I'm just excited as heck. I mean, they're not colorful, they're buds, but they're flower buds, and I know next spring we're going to have this great, great show. And I have 3 or 4 of them here. I have some native azaleas in the back. Oh, I got a ton of things. I am in love with lilies. So, you know, these are big suckers, but boy, are they spectacular. And usually I plant them in 3s at least. There's, I don't know, I've probably cut a couple down, but this one is still looking good, so I just leave it. I leave things as long as I can. Because, you know, I'm in no hurry to get rid of things. It'll be winter soon enough. But having said that, there's hellebores through here, of course, and the ferns. Being Eastern, remember, there's we go to the garden center or read the books and we say shade-loving and sun-loving plants. Give me a break. Plants don't love anything, okay? They tolerate. Based on the science, based on how the plant's DNA and all that stuff, some plants simply do not tolerate real intense western sun, that afternoon stuff. Those are shade plants, like this fern. But it tolerates all the morning sun you can give it. Doesn't have a problem with morning sun. So let's just make common sense out of this whole shade sun thing. A shade plant does not tolerate afternoon sun. A sun plant does. It's as simple as that. Now, it doesn't mean that performance will not be affected by where you put it. If I put a rose in more shade, it'll still grow. Hello. It's not going to give me as many roses. If I put that same rose in full sun, I'll get more plants and more flowers. And I do have some roses in here. They do just fine, thank you, but I'm sure they would be better if I gave it a better area. This fern, by the way, one of the many Japanese painted ferns. There's a lot of breeding going on, believe it or not, with even these. And this one here, which is actually younger than the species here, or the plant we call Japanese painted fern. This is one called Godzilla. And it's just bigger, that's all. It's just a bigger plant. It grows faster and all those cool things. So I'm going to just wander a wee bit further down here because the bed is, you know, it looks kind of big when I'm talking about it. There's a ton of things in here, but it's still pretty small. But I've got anemones here. They're budding up. I have, in fact, some buds over here. This is Honorine Jobert, the perennial plant of the year a few years ago. And I just love it. It has beautiful white flowers, and it does just fine. It's not nearly as ambitious as it is up in Rochester and up in, you know, even in the New England states, any of the New England states, these things just go everywhere. But they do just fine for here. So one of the things supposedly I'm known for are my love of perennials and herbaceous things, and but I also love my woody stuff. And I have some great woody plants that I, again, recommend to my daughters and recommend to my neighbors. I told you about some of the native azaleas, which you just can't beat. This is a plant that many people consider very ugly. It's called Oregon grape or Mahonia. And some of the old Mahonias get big and woody, and they're not pleasant at all. This is soft caress. Just excuse me as I caress it. But it stays at a reasonable size. I've never done anything with it. I may have cut something off just because. It's flowering now, and the flowers are handsome enough, but I don't really care if it flowers or not. It just is a lovely green plant. Foliage is handsome, it's clean, and it's easy to work with. I've developed an app. I hope you have it on your phone. It's simply called Armitage's Great Garden Plants, and it says what deer like and don't like. Every single plant I talk about in that app, it has a deer rating. But I got deer. So out in the front here, I tried my very best to try and keep them away, but because it's a small garden, I hide things like this away. This is just a liquid fence. Again, I'm not getting any money from them. I wish I was. But It's a small garden, so I can just go out and spritz. I know they love anemones, by the way, so I'll spritz my anemones. I know that if a rose has flower buds or a lily has flower buds, they're going to go, so that's when I'll do that as well. But it's simple. And, you know, even no self-respecting deer is going to do much with Mahonia. But this is easy. I throw it in the garden so I don't forget. We'll go back here in a minute, but I want to show you a couple of other things that make life simple. I'm all about, looks like a very complicated garden. It is about as simple a garden as you can find. I put plants in. I don't know the color wheel. I don't really, well, I don't care. I just find that if plants grow well and they grow well together, maybe I did something right, color wheel or not. And so don't ever ask me to do a design in your garden. I'll probably mess it up. But eventually it would look very good. You know, again, window boxes. Down here, the spirea, you know, spirea is a really simple thing. This is a golden spirea. It's not so golden here in October, but it's pretty golden in the spring and even in the summer. And it's easy to chop back if it gets too big. My wife loves chopping, and so, you know, she's happy to do that. And again, the whole window box thing. And yeah, it's a garden. And one of the things I do enjoy, and I've mentioned this a couple of times already, you don't have to have 10 acres, 1 acre, or 500 square feet. You can always grow a container. I have containers in the back. I like containers because I can control them. If I can afford a big container, that's what I'm going to get. Because the bigger the container, the less maintenance. It doesn't dry out as quickly. It gives the roots more room to mess around. And you can do little combinations like this. You know, the old days we used to call, let's make a container with a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. Well, here's my thriller, just rosemary. I mean, people come in here and they just can't help themselves. They touch it and they smell it. My filler is a salvia. And I love the blue salvias. I like all the salvias, but they always, again, attract a ton of pollinators. Salvia is by one of the best pollinators we can find. And my spiller is a good old Marguerite sweet potato. So it works. And it's been working for a long time. And again, really all I have to do is water it. I fertilize it a little bit. Some of these will come back next year. I'll replace the spiller. So in this garden, again, I'm always I'm always changing things. I have no idea, as I say, that, you know, what is exactly going to be here at any given time. But again, no-brainer plants, Japanese maples. I just can't tell you how. I probably have 13 or more in this little garden because they work. And this one's called Waterfall, and it's just water falling. And it takes up the space I want. It's easy to maintain, and things grow well. I don't know how anybody cannot love crepe myrtles. I mean, we love the flowers if you happen to be able to grow them. You know, they're great summer flower. They're beautiful. This is pink. But the bark is so spectacular. But crepe myrtles also are really good for other things. You might notice this big, ugly stems running through here. Well, believe it or not, this is a rose. This is a climbing rose that is all the way to the top of this thing. And I'm kind of sort of trying to train it a wee bit. The nice thing about a crepe myrtle is that the foliage is really late to come out. It's one of the latest of our plants that really foliates. And so even before the leaves come out, the flowers may be bursting. So you really will see the rose. It's not like it's hidden with the foliage. But this one is, this is your grandmother's rose. Believe it or not, it's still flowering. It's called Cecile Brunner, and it's a little sweetheart. And again, it's just perfectly fragrant. But it's an aggressive sucker, so, you know, what am I going to do? Well, I chop it every now and then. See, this thing here, it is here, and I'm probably going to take it all the way down the house. You know, the roses will do what they do. Sure, full sun. No, I guarantee you this is not full sun. But they will find where they are comfortable, and I say that after having told you that, you know, they don't love anything. Well, they will find a comfort zone because the plants will go to where they will perform best. And so Cecile Brunner, again, October, still a few little roses. I'm not sure this is ever totally covered with roses here because there's not quite enough sun, but works for me with my high-tech support system here. As I sort of take you from the front, there's a saying in landscape architecture that says, if you divide a garden in half, you multiply it by 2. And so I'm trying to divide the garden in half so you don't see it all at once. And of course there's a house here, that helps. But I take you through the tunnel. So the tunnel here is camellias on one side, and we're pretty close proximity to each other. So not only is it wonderful plants, flowers, yada yada, you know, privacy. And over here, of course, the oak leaf hydrangeas. And the oak leaf hydrangeas will get this big, and this is truly a tunnel when these things start to flower. I'm just going to take just a short little teaching moment here, if you would. When do you prune a friggin' hydrangea? My God, there's so many of them, different kinds, and people write books on all this stuff. My next book is going to be on pruning, and it's going to be 1 page and 4 words. Cut back after flowering. That's all it is. So it doesn't matter if it's new wood, old wood, or whose wood. Once it flowers, you cut it back. If you wish, you don't have to cut it back at all. But if you wish to trim it, cut it back a wee bit, cut it back after flowering. So I've done this already. This new flowers for spring will be ready to rock and roll. You know, we have panicle hydrangeas that will flower at different times. I'll cut them when they're finished. I'll show you one in the back I haven't touched yet. So that's what I've done here, and they're coming back quite nicely, thank you. So I'm going to take you to the little back, and again, it's a back garden. Put a fence on here so that the deer will not come in. Now, they can jump this. I know, I don't want to hear about it. I know they can. But there's a lot of other things they can eat before they're going to come in here. They don't normally come in the back, and I've just put this in to hopefully even persuade them to not come in at all. So come on, we're going to go see the back.